Sometimes I wonder if it's more the concept of Unbreakable which I admire the most. The film and execution is extremely impressive, especially as an act of film direction and cinematography. Plus, James Newton Howard's score is probably the most I've been enamored with his work, which can be a bit maybe unidentifiable or indistinct from other typical Hollywood composers. But the Unbreakable score I found very resonant and memorable, for example. The idea that a man in his 40s or 50s even comes to realize, wait a minute, why is it that I've never really been sick, certainly in my adult life? And he is aware that he is very strong and has some degree of second sight and to be able to perceive people's behavior based upon very little information about them. But he assumes that these things are just natural skills. And we also find out there are certain things he's put out of his mind based upon them being traumatic events, which may have been more overt indicators that he was a bit different from the average person. Like, what if you come to realize one day, wait a minute, it seems inexplicable, and that's why this plot has been maybe criticized as being too M. Night Shyamalan-y, because it's reliant on a revelation and it builds its uneven scaffolding for a screenplay around a revelation. The Sixth Sense doesn't make any pun unintended sense. I don't like that film very much. There are too many scenes of characters interacting with the Bruce Willis character for it to be. I feel like the idea that, oh, but he was coming in and out of life and so he didn't realize he was a ghost. I don't think it's actually that clever a twist, because it's not as though, because once you realize that, oh, he's just popping in and out of the moment, it's like the only reason he doesn't realize he's a ghost is because of ghost logic. Nah, I don't like it. Whatever, man. It's not like, one day he was like, wait a minute, why is everyone ignoring me? Like, whatever. Anyway, Unbreakable, there's an implication they kind of have to make this stand together, that he is in somewhat denial of his abilities, and he's kind of aware, maybe perhaps that it's kind of submerged with subconscious, that he's well aware that he was able to tear a car door off to rescue Audrey when they were younger, and knowing that he wasn't injured, pretended that he had been, and doesn't think about that very much because he doesn't want to have to think about that his marriage is based upon something of a lie. Anyway, it's fundamentally the exciting concept of Unbreakable, and as it's brilliantly delivered by Bruce Willis's performance, that is very captivating. And whilst it's too easy to be snobby and maybe even kind of tempting to be kind of snobby and snooty about the idea, my reaction is more, actually, what if we do let ourselves feel a bit excited about the idea rather than treating it with, oh no, that should be forbidden, because that's going to be an indicator that if I put this down, I'm gonna feel like I'm smarter than the average person, so I better put it down. And it's just like, if you need to feel like you're smarter than the average person because of a fucking Hollywood film, I don't know if you're smarter than the average person, to be blunt. In any case, I think it's an extremely impressive production, and sometimes I admire less that the film does what it does with the premise or acts on the premise whatsoever. Maybe it's not the premise so much as it's the audacity to act on the premise despite the obvious world in which certain viewers and critics are tearing the idea apart because, oh no, that's a silly idea. And it's like they almost assume that, oh, I'm going to be the first person to kind of poke holes in this premise, and they won't be. But I certainly think that their grievances with the film are probably indicative of a lack of imagination, a want to, not necessarily for themselves to have fun, because they wouldn't be bemoaning or tearing apart a film if it wasn't a little bit fun, But more importantly, you get to prevent other people from having fun, and you can have the most fun. Tee hee hee. My daddy's house is bigger than your daddy's house. Unbreakable is the best M. Night Shyamalan film, far and away. The rest of them are kind of possibly even horrid. Some people stick up for Lady in the Water. I'll watch that again. I don't even know if I ever did what. I think I skimmed for it once and I was just like, nah. I'll watch a Blu-ray copy. And as for The Village is a good idea, but like no, it's a Shyamalan film. But that's kind of the point. Like it kind of falls apart. Like you love the idea of, or at least I do. You walk out of the forest and it's like, wait, modernity? What in the fuck? But because it's an M. Night Shyamalan film, you know it's going there. But I love the idea of that film. I don't think I ever sat down with it to watch it because I just kind of felt like it'd be too disenchanting. Because I liken the premise is good, but it kind of falls apart at the same time because it's dependent on that mystery. But then it's the existentialism of that moment seems exciting to me. Maybe I ought to watch that film. And The Happening is hilarious. You can't go wrong with that film. A genuinely interesting idea in The Happening, and some fascinating cinematographic ideas in The Happening. It is almost wow, I can't believe it's going there. Sort of borderline experimental what's going on in The Happening, or it's so artistically inclined and so up its own arse that it becomes something really interesting, which is not impossible. Pretentiousness can lend itself to really interesting pictures, in my opinion, even if the creator was something of a cunt. I mean, certainly, take Intolerance, Love Struggle Throughout the Ages. We think that's a gorgeous film, and it's full of this magnificent, sublime profundity. Like, the intellectual basis of Intolerance is D.W. Griffith saying, hey, just because I made a film glorifying the Klan and depicting African Americans as defective and inferior doesn't mean I'm a racist. Hey, guys, I'm angelic. You guys, how dare you? I'm doing an impression of the greatest broadcaster on the internet right now. He's too funny. Anyway, I think we'll close it here. Quality film, I think, this one. Let me know if you disagree and why. You probably have a decent reason, but I can smell snobbery, and I don't think most snobbery is, or any snobbery is begrudging. I think people are snobby because they enjoy it and get off on thinking that I'm better than the average person, but you're not. Like, it's just not. If you don't think you're better than the average person, you might be better than the average person. But otherwise, if you outright think that, yeah, probably not. Thanks again, everyone.